All right, man, peace. So if you've been following the Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman show on ESPN for long enough, you know that Max Kellerman created a parameter for Mr. Tom Brady, a metric based on Tom Brady's age, in which he deduced that Tom Brady would quote unquote fall off of the cliff in 18 months. That was starting from the start of the 2016 season. He gave Tom Brady 18 months, which he stated would culminate or end in the Super Bowl of 2018. That would be the latest period in which Tom Brady will still be a top-notch quarterback. Of course, Stephen A. Smith has disagreed with him over the duration of this prognostication by Mr. Max Kellerman. And they're going to try to put his feet to the fire about this quote-unquote prophecy. And Max Kellerman is going to try to hold on as long as he can. Anyway, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
Max, I'm coming to you on this one, my friend.
Yep.
Did we see the Brady cliff?
We won't know until next year. What I said was 18 months. Within 18 months, he was going to fall off the cliff. And by the way, when pressed on this show, I clarified it means he could do it through the Super Bowl, but then not next year. He has so far gone to the very end of my prediction, but we won't know until next year. Now, look, the dumb kind of sports thing to say is, he lost, therefore cliff. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the retort would be 500 yards. What cliff?
No, really, the dumb thing to do would be what you're doing right now, which is to assert that we have to wait until next season to see Tom Brady fall off of the cliff. It's very clear and apparent that Tom Brady is transcending your metric or your chart, which is supposedly based on a precedent and no other quarterback being extremely competitive after the age of 40 or 41. We'll see. He's going to turn 41 next season. I don't see Tom Brady falling off of any cliff. I think that he just knows that system too well. Mentally, he's too focused. I predict that as long as he's healthy next season, he'll have another 4,300 yard season, throw for 35 touchdowns, 38 touchdowns, and probably about 7 or 8 picks. A normal Tom Brady season.
But let's be honest, guys. Tom Brady made some excellent throws, no question about it. And he still has that thing where he can crouch, take a half step to the side, has this spidey sense where the defender's about to hit him and release the ball, right? He still can do that. When will he ever not be able to do that? But let's be honest. A lot of those throws were wobbly throws, didn't look so good. Let's remember what that game looked like. And a lot of the yards were guys open in the flat and even beyond without a defender within 10 or 15 yards of them.
Well, that's normally what good quarterbacks do. They throw to the receivers that are open. It's kind of hard to penalize a guy who threw for 500 yards. If it was that easy, everyone would do it. I'm not sure that I saw any other quarterbacks in the playoffs throw for 500 yards against the Philadelphia Eagles defense. If there was one, brothers, please correct me. But I don't remember the quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons or the quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings throwing for 500 yards against the Philadelphia Eagles secondary. I'm not even sure if they combined for 500 yards.
Those yards really belong to Belichick as much as anyone. And let's also not forget,
How could you sit on TV with a straight face and make an asinine statement like that? Those yards belong to Belichick. Bill Belichick is an all-time great coach, probably the greatest coach in NFL history. But his forte is defense, not offense.
I don't want to take any credit away from Nick Foles, who had an excellent game. But this was a game in which the offense, neither offense could be stopped. And it's not like Philadelphia went in with an offense that we thought was like the Patriots. And yet they couldn't be stopped either. How often did Philadelphia punt?
Right, but unfortunately that's not the question. The question is not whose offense was more proficient. The question is Tom Brady approaching the cliff? The answer clearly thus far is no.
Right? Like, this was not a game with a lot of punts in it. So, Tom Brady, is he going to hit the cliff? Look, there was enough there that I understand why Bill Belichick looked at Tom Brady and said, I want to hang on to Jimmy Garoppolo.
Now, I would agree with that. I think that Bill Belichick looked at Jimmy Garoppolo as someone who was trending upward, and Tom Brady was someone who, in Bill's view, was plateauing or starting to trend downward. It's just that Brady's pinnacle is so high that for him to even start the trend downward, he's still going to be the best quarterback in the NFL. So I would agree with that. That is the reason why Belichick wanted to hold on to Garoppolo and was willing to even trade Tom Brady. I believe he was willing to trade Tom Brady. And to be quite frank with you, I believe that if Garoppolo was the quarterback for New England yesterday, that they probably would have won. Because he would have been able to extend that last drive, or the second to last drive, in which Brady got sacked and was forced to fumble. I believe that he would have been able to elude that pass rush.
And Tom Brady didn't like that, according to reports, which seemed credible and which have since then turned out that, it looks as though they are credible. You never know what happens behind closed doors, but that's been the reporting. And Robert Kraft interceded and said, wait a minute, Tom Brady gets to be the quarterback as long as he likes Belichick. Trade Garoppolo. Coach didn't want to do that. The GM, the greatest coach and maybe the greatest GM who ever lived, looked at Brady and said, I want to keep that other guy. And the owner interceded in order to make him trade that other guy.
All that is true, sir. But none of that has to do with the question. Was this the cliff for Tom Brady is the question at the bottom of the damn screen. The answer is no. He threw for over 500 yards and 3 touchdowns, Max Kellerman. Please just say the answer is no. We'll see at the start of next season. That's all you have to say. But all of these red herrings that you're concocting out of thin air, they're only making you look silly, sir.
So what does that mean? It means Belichick is seeing things in practice, etc., that are certain warning flags for him. And I also saw that in yesterday's game.
It's interesting because I'm listening to you speak, and you made sure to remind us all that you went to the game, and it seemed like you were chilling in the suite, eating sushi and partying and not watching the same quarterback that the rest of us was watching.
And was most likely snorting some lines of coke up there, too. Allegedly. Allegedly.
Threw for over 500 yards, that had 3 receivers that caught for over 100 yards, even without Brandon Cooks, for crying out loud. And by the way, your definition of falling off the cliff, first you told us definitively was 18 months. Then you came back a couple of months later and explained to us, because we clearly didn't comprehend and understand where you were coming from.
Well, that is Caucasian liberal rhetoric 101. It's not that I'm incorrect, it's that you're unable to ingest my deep thoughts, because the ruminations of my mind are just so profound that everyone cannot grasp what I'm putting forth in regards to this 18-month philosophy or theory in regards to Mr. Tom Brady. But you'll see it on the back end, and then you'll praise me and lavish me with adoration. That is certainly the tenor of much of Max Kellerman's sentiments.
Then after that, you sat up there and said, see, I told y'all, because over the last 5 weeks before the season ended, he was looking like the cliff had arrived. But now you're saying, well, now it's going to be not the Super Bowl, but after the Super Bowl going into next season. All over the place. Here's what the bottom line is. All over the place.
Max Kellerman can barely keep a straight face at this point. He knows that his theory is going out the window. Yes, Brady started to slow down in December. Most quarterbacks start to slow down in December. That's normally when the weather gets extremely grievous on offenses. You normally have to grind out victories in the month of December. Brady came back in the playoffs in January and was phenomenal.
Everybody in America know you all over the place. I ain't gonna even bother you.
One place, nice branding drive, and you're wrong.
Yeah, you gonna be. I ain't gonna bother you, nugget.
Yes, he is all over the place. That's why he has to take those strong amphetamines that he's addicted to, allegedly.
Not even bother you, because listen, I told you before, I lost this debate a long time ago. You keep changing the damn definition of it. So
nothing's ever been changed.
I cannot win.
Well, in defense of Kellerman, he truly has not changed the debate. He has stated from the start that it was going to be about an 18-month window. So this is the outermost end of this argument for Max Kellerman. He knows it. And he also knows that if Tom Brady starts out next season in September like a house on fire, that he's going to have to relent and finally acknowledge that he was incorrect. Stephen A. Smith, unfortunately, like many Boule Negroes, is overly emotional and oftentimes has an inability to accept someone else's argument, as wrong-headed as it may be.
Because I get you here, you come here. I get you here, you come there. You keep changing it up. It doesn't matter. He's Tom Brady. 505 yards passing. Did he miss a couple of throws, Damien? Of course he missed a couple of throws.
Well, he missed more than a couple. But in Brady's defense, the receivers that he has, they're not equipped to make spectacular catches. When I say spectacular catches, I mean their catch radius is not that large. So Amendola is a great playmaker. He has great hands, but he's not somebody that you can throw a jump ball for. Gronk is somebody you could throw a jump ball for, but he's fast for a tight end. He's not somebody with blazing speed. Hogan is a pretty good playmaker, but truly what New England is missing is that game-breaking 6'2" wide receiver who can leap over his opponent, things like that. But they don't really seem to be searching that guy out. Maybe they feel like the implications of that will be that they'll have to tolerate a lot of bullshit that they don't want to have to tolerate. Who knows?
There is no doubt about that. But we also know this. New England Patriots didn't lose this game because of Tom Brady.
Oh, that's debatable, sir. Now, Tom Brady may not be the number one reason why they lost. The number one reason why they lost is that Bill Belichick decided that he was going to sit his best corner. But the fact of the matter is that with 2.5 minutes left, Tom Brady had the football, and he had a chance to be viewed as being in the company of a Michael Jordan as the greatest American team sport athlete of all time. And he failed. That went out the window. That's what that last drive, or that second to last drive's failure represented for Mr. Tom Brady. That represented Michael Jordan going up into the atmosphere, never to be seen by Tom Brady ever again. Because had he been able to lead his team to a game-winning drive, you can best believe this morning they would have been lavishing Tom Brady with praise never seen before for any professional American team sport athlete. They would certainly have been leading their debate shows with who's greater, Michael Jordan or Tom Brady. That's what was truly on the line for Tom Brady. And that went out the window. So, no, he was not the number one reason why they lost, but for you to give up a strip sack like that in your 18th year in the league, you know better. When that guy started to approach it, it wasn't like he came at him from the blind side. You got to fold that ball in, into the pit of your arm and take the sack. Bottom line.
We know that much. The brother put up 33 points, okay? It was a defense, Matt Patricia's defense, Bill Belichick's defense, that couldn't stop a damn soul. That's why the New England Patriots are sitting here today, and they're not Super Bowl champions. Damien, I'll let you go ahead.
Thank God.
I'll let you go ahead, Damien. I'll let you go.
Hey, Max, when did you say this whole Cliff thing? Was it like 5 years ago?
Yeah, 18 months ago.
It was like 18 months ago?
18 months ago, he said it would be 18 months.
That's right.
He's extending
And
it.
when asked for clarification,
Pushing the finish line.
when asked for clarification, I told you it could go through this Super Bowl.
He did say that they could go through the Super Bowl in defense of Max Kellerman and his asinine assertion. I think that he's just putting off the inevitable, like someone who has been sentenced to die by lethal injection and he's looking for a reprieve. It's not going to happen. For Tom Brady to come out and throw for 500 yards, you know he's going to start the next season off like a house on fire. I have little doubt about that.
Hey, Max.
Yes.
Would you agree that Tom Brady had a better game than Nick Foles last night?
Nope. No,
I would agree with Max. I think that Nick Foles had a better game. Tom Brady had a greater statistical game, but not a better game.
No, I wouldn't. I would say Belichick had a better. Nope.
Max,
I would say
come on
Belichick
now.
had a better game than Peterson. Nope. I would say 255 yards belong to Tom Brady and 250 belong to Belichick and McDaniel.
Wait a minute, hold on, wait a minute. Last I checked, was Belichick and McDaniels on the field? You
No,
gotta
neither
go
was-
out there and
neither-
throw the passes. I mean,
Hey,
Damian Woody is hilarious to me. He's like the Professor Clump of ESPN. Come on, Miss Purdy.
don't you want only take you so far? At some point, you gotta get a man props. The man
Damien.
is on the field making things happen out there,
Damien.
baby.
Come on, buddy love.
Last I checked, were the Philadelphia Eagles defenders anywhere near Patriots offensive players? How many throws did Brady make? No defender within 10 yards of the receiver.
Right, but you have to understand something, Max Kellerman. Tom Brady has to make those reads. He's the one looking off safeties. Tom Brady makes it look easy. And don't get it twisted. Jimmy Garoppolo was also making it look easy, but it's very clear that he's a gifted quarterback. And I think people are going to understand that next season when he has a full season under his belt, that Jimmy Garoppolo is a gifted quarterback. And that's the reason why Belichick did not want to let him go.
So because Tom Brady had great protection, you gonna knock him? I mean, I thought this whole discussion was about, is Brady falling off a cliff? Hey, if you can't get to him, then you gotta step your game up. But that had nothing to do with Brady slicing and dicing the Eagles defense looking like 7-on-7 out there, and you gonna sit here and say on national television right now that Tom Brady is falling off a cliff? What cliff are we talking about here? I don't see any cliff. Do you see a cliff in this First Thing studio?
Does anybody see a cliff? Miss Purdy, Buddy Love. Does anybody see a cliff or a hamburger?
I'm looking right now. Molly, is there a clip in this First Thing studio? Because I don't see what clip you're talking about with Tom.
Anybody see a cliff? A hot dog, a hamburger, a taco, anything. Does anybody see it? I'm the best. My name is Professor Clump, and I work for ESPN.
Tom Brady's falling off right now.
That's the point of a cliff. You don't see it coming. Now, what I have
You've been
acknowledged...
saying that for I don't know how long.
What I have acknowledged is the 18 months is up. Now we will see next season
But
if
you
he's
didn't
still
say
the great
that,
Tom
Max.
Brady. That's the only way to do it.
Max, you didn't do that. You told us that with the clip that arrived based off of the last 5 weeks of the regular season. You just said that 2 weeks ago. You just said it 2 weeks ago.
I didn't say definitively. I said there are certainly signs of it.
Look, he can't even keep a straight face, Max Kellerman. Now he knows he's trying to push it back. It's just ridiculous. I mean, people just have to give Tom Brady credit. All these people always talking about how the league is fixed for Tom Brady and the league is fixed for New England. Once again, do they cheat? Do they push the boundaries of fairness in sport? They absolutely do. Every other team does it too. They just don't have the brain trust that the Patriots have.
Oh my goodness, this is unbelievable. Max, you did not come on that. Now listen to the question, Max. Listen carefully. You did not, before the Jacksonville game, you did not come on national TV and say, I told y'all, have you not seen what Brady's been doing the last 5 weeks? And I specifically said to you, the playoffs are about to begin. Let's see what he does now, because this is when it counts, baby. You like, I told y'all it already arrived. Now Damian said it best. You keep pushing the finish line. You keep pushing the finish line.
The cliff doesn't mean you can never have a good game. Take the last...
Well, Kellerman's true error was trying to promote Brady's decline in December. He should have waited all the way until next season. When asked about Brady's play, he should have said that there may be signs that the cliff is coming, but there's still that 18-month period, that 18-month window. You'll definitively see it at the start of next season. So I'm not going to jump on the Tom Brady has declined bandwagon yet. That's what he should have done. He should have shown a little bit more discretion. But he wanted to be right so bad. Now he looks like a jackass because Tom Brady threw for 500 yards in the Super Bowl. I mean, shit, if that's the cliff, every quarterback should hit that cliff.
Third of the season, including the playoffs.
So Max, how long are we gonna keep doing this, Max? How long are we gonna keep doing this?
We're gonna keep doing this on next year. Hey, Max just told you it's next year.
If Brady is still guys, it's very simple. If Brady is still a great quarterback next year, he will have proven me wrong. If he's not, he will have proven me right.
18 months have come and gone.
Right.
The man is fresh. Hold on, Max. He is fresh off of passing for 500 yards, and you're saying, "Oh, we'll see next year." But that
Max Kellerman is like these guys who come on the internet on YouTube trying to espouse for evolution, and despite the fact that there's little to no empirical data to verify evolution, they try to hide behind the fact that they're quote-unquote scientists. That is Max Kellerman. He tries to hide behind his alleged logic, despite the fact that the person that he is attempting to use his quote-unquote logic on is transcending it. I mean, at the end, look, man, you just have to give Brady his credit. Even if you want to call him a system quarterback, well, if he's a system quarterback, then he understands the hell out of that system, because he does with that system more than any quarterback probably in the last 25 to 30 years. I would not personally put him above Montana. I think that Montana's a better quarterback than him. Montana, in my view, is the greatest quarterback I've ever seen. But Brady's up there in the top 5, top 3, definitely. Maybe even top 2. I'd have to think about it and do a list. But I would definitely take him over robo quarterback Peyton Manning. There's no doubt about that.
But that don't count. So in other words, between now and next year, that's not the 18
Guys,
months.
we all acknowledge that's the worst. That's the worst
unbelievable.
defensive Super Bowl in the history of football.
Hey,
There's never been a worse defensive
Max,
Super
I got
Bowl.
to tell you something. Maybe the Super Bowl, you're right about that, but let me tell you something, Max. I was at the NFC Championship game, standing right on the 40-yard line at Lincoln Financial Field. I never saw Minnesota look that bad all year.
Thank you, sir.
All year long. They look absolutely absolutely god awful. I don't know what happened to them. Nick Foles has passed, completed 71% of his passes, has thrown for over 700 yards the last 2 games. He's sitting back there taking pictures, calling the wife, asking how the child is doing, the whole nine.
I think part of the Minnesota debacle against Philadelphia also was that Minnesota, deep down, they understood that they really had no business being there. They were just happy to be there because they knew that they had no business being there. New Orleans was better than them. And you'll oftentimes see that with teams that have miracle victories before the championship game. When they get to a higher round game, they oftentimes don't show up because they're still living off of the euphoria of the previous game.
Before he throws a pass,
how many quarterbacks played in last night's game?
How many quarterbacks played in last night's game? But we're going to ignore Tom Brady, right? We're going to ignore Tom Brady.
How many quarterbacks played in last night's game?
2 of them.
Who won the MVP?
So
was it Tom Brady or the other guy?
They had to give it to somebody.
Right, and they gave it to Nick Foles.
The winning.
Right, but that's not the question. The question is, has Tom Brady hit the cliff? The question is not who had the better performance last night. I would agree that Nick Foles had the better performance last night. I would agree with that. I think he was just better overall. But that's also because he had a better supporting cast. And Philly was just, they were not going to be denied. They were not going to be denied. And New England, they just can't keep making these deep runs with a dearth of talent and expect Brady to pull these magical, mystical wins out of his back pocket all the time.
In other words, I got one better for you.
And then on top of that, Foles may not have looked so great had Belichick decided to play his best secondary players, that being Malcolm Butler.
This is the same Max Kellerman that sat up there and said LeBron should have won the MVP the year Cleveland lost in the finals. But now...
Well, that doesn't surprise me. As I've stated, you'll find that LeBron James stupor fans oftentimes say those type of things. It's just that unlike Colin Cowherd, who's also a LeBron James super fan, Max Kellerman detests Tom Brady because he's a big Giants fan. And by the way, you New York Giants fans out there, you should be ashamed and embarrassed about that commercial. That was the most faggoty commercial I've seen in I don't know how long. Your offensive line, your quarterback, your wide receiver, Odell Beckham, they all look like a bunch of damn sissies in that commercial. That was an embarrassment.
Now it's based on Nick Foles winning, but when it was LeBron losing, he deserved it for different reasons.
Because in Brady's case,
I agree with you, Steve. That shows a lack of consistency. At least Cowherd is consistent. You know, he's consistent with a lot of the high stat generating players that he venerates so much. But I'm already on record as stating, in order for you to be the most valuable player, your team has to win. If your team didn't win, you cannot be the most valuable player. You could be the most outstanding player.
Wait a minute. I'm in the same place. You're all over the place.
Not at all. I'm right here.
There is nuance you have to understand, Stephen A. So hold on, David. Hold on. Time out 1 second. Time out 1 second. In LeBron's case, it was clearly he who was better than everyone else. In Brady's case, it was clearly the coaching that allowed him, still playing at a very high level, to pass for 500 plus yards.
Hold on, Max. What about? Could we say the same thing about Doug Peterson? How many times he went? How aggressive he was in the game, the type of play calls and the matchups that he set up.
I agree, but look, all of this is just distraction techniques that Kellerman is trying to concoct, due to the fact that he's embarrassed about Tom Brady's proficiency, his high level of play. He has proven Max Kellerman to be a fool. I mean, that's just the bottom line of it. So to answer the question, no, Tom Brady has not hit the cliff. The question is not who had a better performance, Nick Foles or Tom Brady. But you'll notice that Colin Cowherd also tried to generate the same conversation, except in an inverse way, to lavish praise on Tom Brady as opposed to taking credit away from him as Max Kellerman is doing. So you'll notice that amongst LeBron James type stupor fans, they like to use statistics to suit their arguments or to try to diminish the accomplishments of someone else.
That he set up for Nick Foles in this game, but you want to use that against Tom Brady, but you don't want to acknowledge the other side of that.
Exactly.
I'm not understanding it.
Go ahead, Professor Klump. Good job.
I got the answer for you, Damon.
Matt Kellerman,
you can look at Matt Kellerman's history in terms of his quotes. We didn't even talk about first take. This man has been interviewed, and on the record, this man has said, I really don't understand how people don't understand what I'm saying. So the problem is we don't get it.
Well, I agree with Max to that degree because he is on record as stating that the farthest reaches of Brady's supremacy as a quarterback would be the Super Bowl this past just yesterday. So for people to still be harping or trying to attack him prior to that extension coming to an end kind of shows that, yes, that you don't understand his argument. His argument to me is kind of groundless in relation to Tom Brady, who clearly has been able to elevate himself beyond the standards of the average quarterback. So you cannot judge him by the physical diminishing of the average quarterback. But if we're just going to stick to the strict aspect of his theory, yes, Stephen A., you've shown that you have an inability to comprehend what he's saying.
We watch the same game. We're looking at the same things. But damn it, America, you don't understand. You don't comprehend the beauty, the intellectuallectuality of a Max Kellerman. Oh my God, you just don't get it.
So to put all this in summation, Stephen A. So basically, Max Kellerman is a hater of Tom Brady?
No.
I don't think that's unfair. I think that Max is a hater. I just think that he doesn't want to claim that title of being a hater of Tom Brady. And it's very obvious that he is a hater. He's stated point blank that he does not like Tom Brady or the Patriots. Now, he respects him. He respects him as a quarterback. And he has Brady as his number one greatest quarterback because of his accomplishments. But I do think that Max Kellerman is a quote-unquote hater of Tom Brady. There's no doubt in my mind about that. There's little doubt in my mind about that.
No, I'm not going to accuse him of that.
Damien, I say Tom Brady.
Cliff was going to come in January. Max did say he could win this Super
I'm just
Bowl.
the only reason I said that because man, like the stuff I'm hearing right now is
Max does not deserve to be accused of being a Patriot hater. Here's what he deserves to be.
Well, yes, he does, because he's on record as saying that he hates the Patriots. He's a Giants fan. He has extolled the accomplishments of the Giants over the Patriots before. Look, I don't have a problem with that. He's a fan, which means he's emotional by nature. He tries to cover it with logic, but he's a fan of the Giants, which makes him certainly a detractor of the Patriots, them being a franchise in the Boston or the New England area. New York fans are known for being haters of Boston franchises, whether they be the Celtics, the Patriots, or the Red Sox.
To being accused of. How dare us not understand his logic?
That's
we don't comprehend what Max is trying to say. We're all idiots. We just don't get it. That's what the problem is. We don't understand Max.
Stephen A., you know me so well. There's a real connection here. Damien, I would say this. Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time. I've always given him that credit. In the last several years when he's left no doubt that he is. And even before that, I thought he was the greatest of all.
Well, just by accomplishments, you would have to put Brady number one. Certain people may disagree with that. They may try to bring up old-time quarterbacks like Otto Graham, etc. Look, I'm only dealing with the modern era. And I view the modern era for the NFL, really truly being after they took away the pass interference. They added, I should say, the pass interference in the late 70s. I believe they added in 78. That, to me, is truly the modern era of the NFL. So the quarterbacks from there, whether they be Dan Fouts, Joe Montana, Dan Marino, Warren Moon, John Elway, coming into Tom Brady, Troy Aikman, you could throw his name in there. Those guys. Now, you have great quarterbacks before that, obviously, guys like Roger Staubach, Johnny Unitas, players of that caliber. But those would be the main guys that you could even possibly judge. I mean, you have a guy like Otto Graham, but Otto Graham barely played in the time of integration. All right, now he played on the Cleveland Browns. They added some of the early black players into the NFL, but I don't consider that modern. If your scouts were going to the draft and it was a big thing for them to consider a black player, I don't consider that to be in the modern era. All right, the true modern era for me came when they added the pass interference rules in the late 70s. But if you want to, stretch it, you can go back to when the Super Bowl started in the late 60s.
Of all time. That has nothing to do with getting older and your play declining. That's all.
Where's the decline? I'm trying to figure.
We gotta leave that one there. This conversation to be continued, I promise.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, I don't see any decline in Brady's play as of yet. Now, to Max Kellerman's point, he does throw some wobbly footballs at times, but he also throws some sharp footballs at times. What may show a decline in Brady's play will be if Gronkowski decides to retire. but I'll probably be doing a video on that later on. But anyway, peace.